Since the end of 2016, I've been financially independent to where I haven't needed to work a single day to earn any income. And here's how I created this work optional life, and you can too. So let me give you some backstory here, especially if this is your first time on my channel. By the way, if this is, be sure to like and subscribe. But as you go back to my story here, I started out as a financial advisor. I was the broke salesman in a suit trying to tell you how to become financially free, maybe someday. However, after several years of doing that, I realized that my father, who was the super saver, debt-free guy, he couldn't retire either, nor could any of my other clients, and neither could any financial advisors. Therefore, why would I keep teaching this stuff? And so I quit. I started looking for better ways, and that's why I started to meet real estate investors and people like that, where actually I was able to retire the first time when I was 28 years old back in 2006. The recession hit, I lost everything, built it back again. I didn't go bankrupt, but I went badly in debt and had to pay back that debt. So by the end of 2016, I was there again, where I had enough passive income coming in that I was work optional. I could work because I want to, not because I have to. And as you always hear me say, I love passive income, don't I? Now, how did I actually do it? How do I make it work? Because again, I had to do it twice, and I'll tell you, the second time I was much wiser the next time around. So here's what I did. First and foremost is remember these three things: get lean, get liquid, get out. I teach this in my book, Work Optional Blueprint, where I show people how to do the system. But to sum it up very simply, get lean means be a wise steward of your money. Track your expenses, track your income, know how much is coming in and going out, and be sure you're wise with what you're spending. You don't have to be cheap. You don't have to live on rice and beans. You don't have to go and just eat cardboard all day long, or even just go and cut out that latte every day, and you better not ever eat out. No, we're not talking about that at all. I'm just talking about you spend money on the things that you enjoy and the things that actually enrich your life, but make sure you have more than enough extra profit each month to save. And that's what it means to get liquid. Now, get liquid doesn't mean save in your 401k. It does not mean trying to pay extra onto your student loans more than you need to, or onto your house and things like that, where you can't get it back out again. Instead, this is get liquid. This is money in your control. Could be in bank savings. It could be in infinite banking that we talk about so often on this channel, right? The max ROI, infinite banking strategies that we teach. Those things are great too for those kind of strategies. But get that money liquid in your possession. Because if you lock that money in a 401k and IRA, you can't get to it unless you quit or get fired. Neither I recommend. And so instead, get that money in your power, in your possession. Now, after you get it liquid, the next question you're going to be asking me is, Chris, now where do I get it out? Where do I invest it in a way that comes back to me? Ideally as passive income today, not waiting 30 or 40 years for retirement. And that's the difference, right? Is that we want to get it out. So this is the same process I went through. Now, granted, when I was coming back from my big financial crisis, from the global financial crisis, where I was over $1 million in debt, I did focus a lot of my time paying off loans and paying off debt. I was trying to do things I could to try to get rid of that. And I was doing it based on a formula I call the cash flow index, one that I created back in 2008 when I was going broke. And that's something you can learn more about on other videos. But I was using that cash flow index to figure out which loans pay off first. Now, at the same time, I also learned you should not just use all of your cash to pay off your debt. So I kept money liquid. I started building up a savings, an emergency fund. Even started with just $500 or $1,000. That was a start. Eventually, you build that up. Now, some people tell you 3 to 6 months of reserves. I would challenge that. I would say at least 6 to 12 months of reserves. If you're a business owner, I would say more than 12 months. You might need a lot more because you also want to have reserves for your business and reserves for your family. In my own personal family situation, we have in our own family reserves, we have over a year's worth of income that we've stored up because we want to keep it there. Now, I don't just let it sit around and do nothing. I don't let it put it in the bank earning point nothing percent, and I don't even trust high yield savings accounts, which have come down lately over the last year or so. So I'm not making nearly as much, and then I get taxed on that money anyways. I have money in the bank. I do have money in high yield savings, but I put most of it in that max ROI infinite banking policy. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a lot of my cash flow to put in my infinite banking policy, which is using whole life insurance. Why? Because it's paying me 6% a year tax-free. That's money I can access and use at any time, especially the way we design it, which is very specific. Don't buy traditional whole life crap. Don't even buy the typical infinite banking policies. You want it to be the max design policy possible, where you get the biggest bang for your buck so that you can earn the most money you can. And so you want to get liquid. This is a temptation. Many people want to keep investing, or even say, I've got 10,000. I got to get out and do something. I'm going to buy a bunch of Bitcoin or whatever it's going to be. Well, you don't buy that much Bitcoin with 10,000, but you want to try to get it out to make money. Forego that temptation. My opinion is this, is that if you can use a combination of infinite banking and everything else, you can build it up to over 100,000 and still not feel that guilt. Now, once you start to build it up into six figures, when you start building up over 100,000, 150 to 200,000, and you start having that extra cash, now you've got some options to get it out and diversify into different investments. Yes, you can always put in the stock market, but I would challenge you to not do that, because too many people, myself included, who was all about the stock market, was all gung-ho about it, I was even a stock trader, still passive income, it does not exist. And how do I know? Because it wasn't just me and my experience, but even I've had people hire me to teach them how to become work optional that were literally stock and options traders. People that taught others how to trade options were saying, Chris, I'm tied to a computer. I have to keep babysitting this thing. I want real passive income. Where do you find that? Well, you find that in the Main Street investing world, not Wall Street, Main Street. These are things like real estate investing, things investing in business, investing in commodities, things that are much different than what you would normally get. So, for example, we have a lot of people right now, they say, I have $100,000. Well, what if you could take the $100,000 and lend that money, becoming the bank essentially, lend that money to a real estate investor? And let's just say that a real estate investor pays you 1% a month or 12% a year. Well, do the math, that $100,000 is now paying you $1,000 a month. And so now you have that $1,000 a month coming in. Do you spend it and blow it? No, you don't. You could, but I would challenge you not to. Instead, take the $1,000 a month, start to build up that cash along with the cash you're already saving right, from the profits and trying to get lean and everything and getting liquid. Add it together so it starts accelerating your savings. And then you can reinvest that money again. Rather than compounding interest, instead what we're trying to do is compound income. We want to compound that income so that as we start to build it up, we can reinvest it again, keep building that passive income year after year. So say, for example, with all the money you've been saving up, that $1,000 a month, that $12,000 a year, you build up to another $50,000, you're like, great, get out to invest. And then that starts generating $500 a month. Now you're at $1,500 a month of passive income. And just so you're aware, most people don't even have any passive income. I know people literally come to us, they're like our poster children, that have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars sitting around that pay them zero passive income, zero. Yes, they earn interest maybe if the stock markets go up or down, but that's it. They have nothing else to show for it. That's where you want that passive income. I've seen so many people have $1,500, $2,000 a month outdo people that have millions of dollars sitting around in their financial advisors' accounts. That's the power. And you start to compound that over and over. It might feel slow in the beginning. This is why I don't recommend just taking $10,000 investing it. Because $10,000 making, say, 10% makes you $1,000 a year. It doesn't hardly move the needle. That's why you want to focus on getting lean, getting liquid, and getting out. I'll throw in a bonus here. Also focus on how can I increase my income. Don't ask how do I make more money. Focus on instead, how do I create more value for more people, especially the people that pay me, whether it be my boss, whether it be the manager, whether it be the customers or clients that I have. How do I create more value that I can then command a higher premium of payment? If I can do that, then I can make more income and be able to get that money working for me faster. Again, staying lean the whole time doesn't mean that you can't enjoy life, doesn't mean you can't take those trips, because many people, I do encourage that they do that and they don't delay everything, don't delay all gratification, but still, build that cash up. This is why you want to have real assets. This is why owning a home can actually be beneficial. Owning a home, granted, is an expense, right? But of course, you can make a great leverage over time by owning your own house versus just renting. Again, these are all things that are all part of the consideration, but this is what I did, right? And again, I was in my own situation, I was focusing so much on earning more income and keeping my expenses low so I could take more of that money and reinvest it. That's what I did. I also created other streams of income within my business too, things that allowed me to be hands-off, that were more residual income versus just passive income. And so doing those kind of things, that's how I was able to build up my own passive and residual income to over $50,000 a month. Now at this point, I'm at a point where I don't even need this business anymore. I don't need money ripples. Now I do this because I want to teach you how to create that freedom sooner versus waiting until your 60s or 70s and then you have to live on a tight budget. And I'll tell you the last thing. I mentioned my dad. My dad did everything right from a traditional savings standpoint. He was debt-free, including his mortgage. He had saved money in his 401k, got his company match and everything that he was supposed to get. Yet it wasn't enough. And he had to work into his 70s. He had to slave and save until that point. And then he was forced into retirement due to health reasons. Now he's in his 80s. And now he's trying to figure out, how do I stretch thin all this money? How do I keep it going as long as possible? He's even talking about trying to do a reverse mortgage so then he can have cash flow coming in from the house because he's just got equity in the house, but he's almost burnt through his savings. Don't fall into that trap. Don't become like every other American who's literally worried about outliving their money. You can create not just freedom later in life, but you can create that freedom much earlier right now. And that's exactly the blueprint to do it, is figure out how you can get lean, get liquid, and then get that money out for you to create passive income today. If you want to learn how to do that, and in fact, if you want to know how much passive income you can create, go to moneyripples.com/consulting. There's a passive income calculator you can try out to see how much you can create, and even book a call to see what's possible in your situation today.